Honestly, when was the last time you sat alone with yourself, without a phone, without music, without a video, just you and your mind? If you can't remember the answer, don't worry. American psychologist Stephen Hayes gave this a name: experiential avoidance. In simple terms, it means that we don't run away from the problem itself. We run away from the feelings that come with the problem. And this has become so automatic that we don't even realize we're doing it. And I can prove it to you. Right now, let's do a little thought experiment. For the next 15 seconds, I won't say anything, and the screen will go completely black. You don't have to do anything. Just observe your mind and see what happens when absolutely nothing is happening. Ready? Did you notice anything? Only 15 seconds passed, but your mind probably started looking for something. A thought, an itch, an urge, anything. That restlessness you're feeling right now is exactly what we spend our entire day trying to escape from. Think about it. Why are you in such a hurry to fill every empty second? Phone in the elevator. Phone while eating. Phone in the bathroom. Phone before going to sleep. Phone the moment you wake up. And we think the problem is our attention span. But attention span is only a symptom. The real problem is something else. Paris, 654. A mathematician and philosopher was writing in his diary. His name was Blaise Pascal. Pascal was the man who invented the calculator, contributed to probability theory, and laid the foundations of fluid mechanics. The world considered him a genius. But that genius wrote one line in his notes that is still incredibly relevant today. Pascal wrote that all of humanity's problems come from our inability to sit quietly alone in a room. Think about that. 370 years ago, there were no smartphones, no notifications, no Instagram. And yet he made this observation, which means this problem isn't new. It's one of the oldest problems humans have ever had. So now let's understand what experiential avoidance actually is. The concept is simple. Humans don't run away from problems as much as they run away from the feelings those problems create. You don't run away from the interview. You run away from the feeling of rejection. You don't run away from financial problems. You run away from the anxiety that comes when you think about money. And most dangerously, you don't run away from being alone. You run away from the voice you can hear only when you're alone. That's why whenever that feeling appears, you don't solve it. You mute it by scrolling, by listening to music, by watching Netflix, by drowning yourself in work, or by doing anything that temporarily takes you away from yourself. Honestly, I'm making this video because I feel this too. Sometimes I become so uncomfortable with my own thoughts that I can't even fall asleep at night unless I have a podcast or some music playing. But here's the question. Why do those feelings become stronger the more we try to ignore them? In 1987, American psychologist Daniel Wegner conducted an experiment to answer exactly this question. He gave people a simple instruction, and I'm going to give you the same instruction. For the next 5 minutes, think about anything you want, but don't think about one thing. A white bear. Just don't think about a white bear. Did you think about the white bear? That's exactly the problem. The same thing happened in the experiment. The more people tried to keep the white bear out of their minds, the more it kept coming back. Wegner discovered an interesting mechanism behind this. Whenever you tell your brain, don't think about this, the first thing your brain has to do is check whether you're thinking about that exact thing. In psychology, this is called ironic process theory. And the same thing happens with your emotions. The more you try to ignore anxiety, emptiness, or that inner voice, the more your brain continues tracking it in the background. That's why those feelings don't actually disappear. They're simply muted for a while, and the moment the distraction disappears, those same feelings come rushing back. That's why, despite being busy all day, the moment you lie down in bed at night, all your thoughts suddenly start appearing. They're not new emotions. They're the same emotions you've been suppressing all day. But if we know that suppressing these feelings can make them stronger, then why does your hand automatically reach for your phone to fill that emptiness? You might think you're consciously picking up your phone, but maybe that decision isn't even yours anymore. The truth is, your hand may have already made the decision before you even realize it. Psychologist B.F. Skinner, whose behavioral experiments helped shape modern psychology, conducted a famous experiment. A box, a rat, and a lever inside it. There were 2 different setups. In the first setup, whenever the rat pressed the lever, it received food every time. But in the second setup, pressing the lever only produced food sometimes. The result? The second rat pressed the lever much more frequently, and it became much harder for the rat to stop pressing it. Skinner demonstrated how unpredictable rewards can create extremely persistent behavior. The same principle is used in casino slot machines. Now think about your phone. Whenever you unlock your phone, you don't necessarily find something exciting. Sometimes there's a notification. Sometimes there's a message. Sometimes there's a funny meme. And sometimes there's absolutely nothing. That randomness trains your brain. You don't pick up your phone because you know you'll get a reward every time. You pick it up because you're hoping that maybe this time there will be something new. That's why sometimes your phone is already in your hand and you don't even remember when or why you picked it up. Remember, the most difficult habits aren't necessarily the ones with a fixed reward. The most persistent habits are often the ones where the reward is unpredictable. And if Skinner's variable reward system wasn't enough, some people deliberately made digital technology even more engaging. In 2006, a young developer working for Mozilla designed a feature that would eventually become part of the experience used by billions of people. He helped design infinite scrolling, that never-ending feed that never really stops. You finish one post, and another one appears, then another, and another. Years later, he spoke publicly about the unintended consequences of this design. A former Google design ethicist also left the technology industry and became involved in an organization focused on exposing how technology can be deliberately designed to capture our attention. The red color of notifications creates a sense of urgency. Infinite scrolling removes natural stopping points. Autoplay removes the need to make another decision. These things aren't necessarily coincidences. They're engineering decisions. Every empty moment you have, those 30 seconds in an elevator, those 2 minutes while you're waiting, that silence before you fall asleep. Systems are designed to fill those moments because the longer platforms can keep your attention, the more valuable that attention becomes. You don't pick up your phone because you're weak. You pick it up because extremely smart people have spent enormous amounts of time making sure you keep wanting to pick it up. Now that you understand the systems involved, experiential avoidance, ironic processing, variable reinforcement, let's see how much of this actually applies to your life. On the screen, you'll see 10 questions. Answer each one honestly with a yes or no and count your score. You can pause the video here. If your score is above 4, then today's video is especially important for you. And make sure to leave your score in the comments. I want to see how many of you are actually willing to answer honestly. After hearing all of this, you might be thinking, why am I so weak? It's such a simple thing. Why can't I just look inward? So I want to make one thing very clear. You're not weak. This is partly a result of how our brains are designed. Our brains are the product of millions of years of evolution. For much of human history, being alone could mean being vulnerable to danger. Humans who were separated from their groups were often less likely to survive. So our brains developed a powerful rule. Being alone can mean danger. Today, that danger usually isn't there, but your brain doesn't always know that. As soon as there's silence, as soon as you're alone, your brain can start sending an alarm. Find a distraction. Do something. Watch something. Listen to something. But there's another type of distraction that doesn't look like a distraction. Sometimes it looks like taking notes. Sometimes a productivity app. Sometimes a book. Sometimes a podcast. Sometimes endless research. Sometimes creating the perfect plan. And sometimes it even looks like self-improvement. Learning and planning aren't the problem. The problem begins when they start replacing action. You feel like you're moving forward in life, but in reality, you're standing in the same place. Without making any real progress, think about how many books you've read, how many videos you've watched, how many times you've waited for Monday. And yet, that one thing that could genuinely change your life is still pending. Why? Because taking action is uncomfortable, and our brains naturally want to avoid uncomfortable things. That's why sometimes even self-improvement can become an escape. And the most dangerous part is that productive distractions don't make you feel guilty. And the distractions you don't recognize as distractions can be the hardest ones to escape from. So far, we've only understood the problem. But what's the solution? The solution is actually very simple. There are 3 steps. Step 1, effect labeling. In 2007, neuroscientist Matthew Lieberman conducted an experiment. Participants were shown uncomfortable images. One group was simply asked to look at the images. The other group was asked to identify and label the emotions they were experiencing. The people who labeled their emotions showed reduced activity in the amygdala. The amygdala is a brain region involved in processing fear and emotional responses. In psychology, this technique is called affect labeling, and using it is incredibly simple. Whenever you feel something, give it a name. Instead of simply feeling overwhelmed, say, I'm anxious. Instead of fighting the emotion, identify it. You don't have to remove the feeling. You simply have to name it. Because naming an emotion can help you create some distance from it and process what you're experiencing. And that's exactly what distractions often steal from you. The opportunity to actually process your emotions. Step 2, urge surfing. The idea behind urge surfing is simple. When an uncomfortable urge or emotion appears, anxiety, restlessness, boredom, or the urge to check your phone, you don't immediately act on it. You observe it. You let it rise. You let it peak. And you let it pass without automatically responding. Think of it like a wave. It comes. It rises. It reaches a peak. And eventually it falls. So, the next time your hand automatically reaches for your phone, don't fight yourself. Just observe the urge. Wait for 90 seconds. And maybe you'll still pick up your phone afterward. That's completely fine. The important thing is that you created a 1-second pause between the urge and the action. And that pause is the first step toward regaining control. Because let's face it, you and I aren't going to beat these algorithms by sheer willpower. But we can design our environment to work in our favor. And if you want the algorithm to show you content that brings you closer to yourself instead of further away from yourself, then like and subscribe to this channel. Step 3, progressive overload of solitude. You don't walk into a gym on your first day and immediately lift 100 kilograms. You start with 5, then 10, then 15, and gradually increase the weight. The same principle can be applied to your ability to sit alone with yourself. Your challenge is simple. Tomorrow morning, after you wake up, spend 10 minutes with yourself without your phone and without music. Then gradually try increasing that time every day. It will probably feel uncomfortable at first, but that discomfort doesn't necessarily mean something is wrong. It may simply mean you're learning to tolerate something you've been avoiding. And if you've made it this far into the video, you're probably someone who genuinely wants to improve your life. So I have 2 challenges for you. First, leave your score in the comments. And second, comment 1 word describing the feeling you usually try to escape from. Loneliness, anxiety, guilt, anger, whatever it is. I want to see how many of you are willing to honestly name what you're feeling. And if you want to understand why it feels like you're gradually losing control of your own life, click on this video. It will help you understand how to start taking that control back.